With all that's going on in the news, we can't allow ourselves to forget that this is also the set of just a few weeks that will determine the life or death of net neutrality going forward, because the FCC is looking to destroy it, and that is coming up very soon. With that in mind, I've got bad news for you. And that has to do partially with how people view the topic of net neutrality, but also maybe why they view it that way. And that has to do with the coverage or lack of coverage in the media. And this is mostly coming from the great work of Media Matters in cataloging this. Let's bring up this first graphic. You're gonna see the broadcast news networks that NBC didn't talk about at all, not for 1 second. ABC somehow found a way to talk about it for 25 seconds. I don't even know what that would be for 25 seconds.
I do, yeah.
Yeah? And then we get 2 minutes out of them. CBS, right?
Yes.
I don't know the logos. I think it's CBS.
Yeah, it's definitely
but
CBS.
it's not a lot of time. It's really not a lot of time. Now, that's the broadcast networks. Now, thankfully, the cable news networks did talk about it more, although it's not that much better. MSNBC was actually the best. They far outpaced the coverage of net neutrality compared to CNN and Fox News. From originally being reported on the Rachel Maddow show, this most recent push on November 20th, they have since spent nearly 47 minutes on net neutrality, which, when you consider that these networks all have 24 hours and repeat the same stories over and over, it seems low even then. But let's compare that 47 minutes to CNN, which devoted approximately 10 minutes, and Fox News, which spent a little more than 11 minutes. However, that included 2 interviews with Ajit Pai, who's going to destroy net neutrality, on Fox and Friends. I'm sure it was a substantive deep dive. And Pai gave no other interviews and segments included in the study. And so the raw numbers, maybe 10 minutes and 11 minutes sounds good, but if that is basically purely from the point of view of the person who wants to kill net neutrality, maybe it would be better if they didn't talk about it at all.
Yeah, of course Fox is on the side of giant media companies who'd like to control the internet and pass their own regulations and not let the government protect our interests and basically protect the internet as it is. That's not surprising. NBC not running any stories on it when they're owned by Comcast, one of the internet service providers, also not surprising. But credit to MSNBC. So they're also owned by Comcast, but they spent the most amount of time on that issue. So maybe not enough by our standards, but still way better than the rest. So credit to them. Especially because they're owned by Comcast.
Yeah, and interesting, I believe that you already reported this, but we should repeat that Comcast recently deleted their 3-year-old no paid prioritization net neutrality pledge, where they said that they would not have tiers basically, where if you pay more, you get more, or more likely, if you don't pay more, you get less. That's usually how that works out. And oddly enough, it's a weird coincidence, they deleted that pledge on the same day the FCC said they were gonna destroy net neutrality. Weird how that works out.
Yeah, and I like how while Obama was in charge and while they were pretending that they were going to be moral actors, they're like, no, we'll protect the internet on our own because we care about the public. Okay, they're like, oh, we don't have to care about the public anymore. Trump's in charge. Yeah, we were just kidding. Obviously, we change our own laws anytime we want. It's just they're not actual laws. And so we changed our rule and we decided that we can slow down your website.
Yeah, and I mean, if this gets destroyed and we start to see those tiers of service and the vast majority of us end up on a crappy tier where it's not that they're building new higher speed things for those who pay more, they will find ways to cut your speed now and probably charge you more for it even then. That's gonna affect all areas of the internet. Our show, porn and Netflix, which is the vast majority of what most people do, but I automatically think about people who are debating whether they can afford to have the internet in the first place. Maybe they don't have it yet. The US has lower rates than a lot of other parts of the world. Or schools that are considering hooking up more internet capable computers. Like, think about those people and what will end up happening to their experience. Like if they're trying to use the internet for education, for instance, doing classwork and things of that sort. Like think about how much, we already have this huge inequality in terms of educational outcomes between classes, and that it could only get worse. The internet is supposed to be the great equalizer, but it's not gonna be equal anymore. So that's gonna be great for a lot of Americans.
So before we get to other parts of the story and what Americans think about net neutrality, I just wanna give you an avenue to fight back. So one thing you can do is you can sign a petition that, let's go to graphics 16 through 19, Jesus. A petition that the Just Democrats are doing. So these are the guys who are uncorrupted. They don't take corporate PAC money, so they don't represent corporations. They represent you guys. JustDemocrats.com/net neutrality. And the petition says the FCC, under the leadership of Trump-appointed Chairman Ajit Pi is set to end net neutrality with a vote on December 14th. This move by the government agency will effectively sell the American people out to large ISP conglomerates like Comcast and Verizon, who will be able to charge websites to reach users at faster speeds. Now, this is interesting. If you guys didn't know, they point out, luckily, Congress has the power to reverse any decision made by the FCC through a congressional resolution of disapproval and can also apply political pressure. Please sign this petition and call your congressperson to demand that they do everything in their power to stop the nonsense of Trump and Pi from destroying the internet, or there will be consequences. Now, by the way, you could, now Ajit Pai is not gonna listen, but you could email him, be civil, ajit.pi@fcc.gov. And the vote's on December 14th. This is the building, Federal Communications Commission, 445 12th Street Southwest, Washington, D.C., 20554. Look, let's stop there because, look, what do we have left? They're inviting disaster, right? So there's all these comments that were sent to the FCC. John's gonna tell you about that in a second and what a joke that turned out to be, okay? So they don't care. Most people are against it, they don't care.
Democrats and Republicans are against it, they don't care.
Yeah, Republicans, voters are against it, they don't care. So what do the Republicans do whenever they're in a bad situation? They get physical. So the most famous instances, in Florida, they started the recount in 2000, and a bunch of Republican lobbyists and staffers get together, and they went and circled the building in Miami-Dade to stop the recount, and it worked. And it worked. They pretended to be real Americans who were outraged that we were counting the vote, as if a thing like that exists, right? And they shut down the vote. And it turns out if they had recounted all of Florida, Al Gore would have been president. And it worked. So, okay, well then surround the FCC building on December 14th. Don't let them take the vote. So don't do anything physical to any human being, please, 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 okay? So, you know, we're on the left, we don't believe in physical action against human beings, okay? But on the other hand, the FCC building, look, if we had any kind of semblance of democracy here, you know what other countries do? They pour into the streets. There's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. There should be 100,000 people surround the FCC building going, go see if you can take the vote now, okay? That's the only thing left.
Yeah, I mean, look, realistically, we should have, I don't know if it needs to be a constitutional amendment, but, and maybe this is just gonna make me sound like a geek, but there's a variety of rights that we need to have. One of them is the right to, unrestrained access to the internet. It's not an optional thing. This ain't the early 90s. This isn't just for like people who want to play Doom or something like that. You need this for every area of life, from commerce, business, school, relationships, increasingly everything. And one of the reasons I think that they might be able to squeak it through right now is, one, is we allowed Trump to be elected and we knew that this would happen since he spoke out in 2014 against net neutrality. But also that people have been worn down by multiple times that we've already had this discussion. Under Obama, this came up multiple times and we put pressure on the government and they went in the right direction. Obama and the FCC at that point went in the right direction. And so it just keeps coming up over and over and over, and this time they might actually succeed.
So the petition, we'll have the link down in the description box on YouTube and in a comment section on Facebook. But let me tell you where we are on the polls and what Americans think about this. A poll from Morning, we're going to graphic 32. It's poll from Morning Consult and Politico, released on Wednesday, found that 52% of registered voters support net neutrality regulations, compared with 18% who say they don't. Now, the main issue there is that most people don't know what it means.
And 40% don't have an opinion.
Yeah, and so of 46% that they've heard a lot or some about net neutrality recently, that means the majority of Americans have not heard about it. And so partly because of what John pointed out, which is that the media is hardly covering it at all. So since they didn't see it on TV, a lot of older Americans, they never heard about it. So whereas the people who did hear about it, the numbers are overwhelming, 52 to 18 on our side. In fact, 55% of Democrats are for net neutrality, that's keeping the internet as it is, but so are 53% of Republicans.
Yeah.
The Republicans go, wait, no, don't take away my right-wing websites. You think those big cable companies are gonna care about your right-wing blogs? No, you're first on the chopping block. They don't like your bigotry, that it costs them customers.
Yeah.
So that's why actual voters hate this thing. Now, which leads us to the hilarious situation, which is graphic 34, about what happened when they asked for comments of the FCC. But first, let me give you a little bit of context. Last time they did this in 2014, a lot of people sent in comments. They sent in about 450,000 comments overall, and they were almost all for keeping net neutrality. And so the Republicans on the commission looked at that and go, when you ask for comments, it doesn't turn out well for us, right? They like the internet, they want to keep it as it is. Yeah. We tried to do our propaganda, we sent Ajit Pai on Fox News, and we did all that stuff about, oh no, keeping the internet as it is would be government regulation. Instead, let Verizon and Comcast do any regulation they like, but only for their benefit and not yours. Oh, damn, that didn't work. So this time, they asked for comments, but now there are bots. So they get 22 million comments, but let's look into that. Pew Research Center found out, and this is reported by The Hill, the organization found that of the 21.7 million comments submitted to the FCC on the Obama-era rules this year, just 6% were unique. The other 94% were duplicate comments.
Wow.
Okay, now to give you context, which side has the duplicate comments? Now, one instance was 2.8 million people sent in the same comment because John Oliver did a segment on it.
That's true.
Which was awesome, okay? That's a lot of people, man.
Yeah.
God bless John Oliver.
Considering that he does like 8 minutes of video a year, he devoted a lot of it to net neutrality going back through the year. So he deserves a lot of credit for that.
So those are actually human beings who got worked up by John Oliver, bless his heart, and said, yes, I want to keep net neutrality. Now let's look at the rest. The 7 most common messages found in the record comprise 38% of all the comments, just 7, right? 6 of those, one was John Oliver's fans. 6 of those were anti-net neutrality messages submitted a combined 5.5 million times.
Maybe the people really don't like net neutrality.
Yeah, maybe they were listening to Rush Limbaugh and he's like, oh, who needs the internet? And 5.5 million people got on and said, oh, no, I'm going to send the same exact message, right?
Yeah.
No, or perhaps those big internet service provider companies were like, oh, there's a thing called a bot where we can pretend the people are on our side. Send the same 5.5 million messages saying, oh, I hate freedom on the internet. Please slow down all my websites. I don't want to watch Netflix. Oh, I want it to be really slow. Porn, yuck. No, slow that down. I don't want that either, okay?
Bots are people too.
Yeah, right-wing and left-wing sites that don't agree with the establishment. I hate those. Please let Verizon and Comcast control them.
See, look at this elitist lib over here. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I watch things online, like Westworld, the plot's really complicated. It's hard to follow. It's nice when it pauses all the time for like 10 seconds and buffers. It gives me time to think about the plot and figure out what's going on. I have a couple of other numbers though. 7.7 million comments were submitted from mail domains attributed to the website fakemailgenerator.com.
Gee, I wonder where they're coming from. Million. I can't quite tell.
Also, and it's interesting to find out, sometimes there's geographic differences in how much people care about an issue. Like some issues, in California they care a lot about it, some in Florida they care a lot about it. In this case, it was from somewhere else though. 445,000 comments came from Russian email addresses. So it turns out they just really care about stopping net neutrality in Russia. It's weird how that works out.
It is kind of weird. It's funny how
By the way, that's more than all the comments that came around the last time the FCC solicited comments came from Russian email addresses.
Now, do you think the Russians really care about making sure that Verizon and Comcast make more money?
Yes.
No. Okay, but somehow, whatever Trump supports, there's websites in Russia that also support it. Yeah. What a weird coincidence. And so, look, you guys, for the people who do understand net neutrality and understand that it stands for freedom on the internet and keeping things as they are on the internet, for those folks, when Ajit Pai and those clowns go around saying, oh, we have a lot of comments from fake.com saying that they just think net neutrality is terrible. They just don't want the internet to stay as it is. You think we're not going to catch you? You think we're not savvy enough to figure out where it's coming from? So in this case, Pew Research Center did a wonderful job, but you're going to get caught either way. To them, it's just a joke. It's just a way of how do I do propaganda? Enough of a fig leaf for me to do whatever my literal corporate masters told me to do, because Ajit Pai worked for them before. He will work for them again. They're the donors to the Republicans who are supporting this. and when they go out, they'll probably work as lobbyists for these same companies.
Yeah.
So when people talk about a revolution, this is it. I mean, you need a revolution so that the corporations don't take over every single part of our lives.
Yeah.
They've already captured the government. Now they're going to capture the internet, and who's the only people fighting back? Look, a lot of folks online, give them credit, and by the way, yes, right-wing and left-wing sites, so bless their hearts. And yes, Google and Facebook are the good guys in this case, and Netflix, they're all fighting for net neutrality. But also on the political side, the just Democrats, because the corporate Democrats are like, oh, it's bad, right? But they also take corporate money. Just Democrats don't take corporate money, so they care. justicedemocrats.com/net neutrality. The link is in the description box. Sign the petition. Find any way you can to fight back. TYT membership gets you commercial-free Young Turks. Download it, stream it, podcast it, get all the network shows, and support independent media. tytnetwork.com/join.